All right, David, you want to share a bit of I think a personal story about an anxiety reaction and help us understand the process that happens in the brain and the body.
Yeah, in psychoanalysis, my background will constantly try to understand how our clients project to us their undigested psychological material. It's called transference. And then sometimes we react as therapists, psychotherapists, to their transference. That's called countertransference. And intersubjectivity psychoanalysis, fifth generation psychoanalysis, we've gone away from transference and countertransference to cold transference. We know both the therapist and the client are projecting in unconsciously. And so I'm always taking my experiences and trying to understand what's going on and then sharing. So I'd like to share this with you and help you to think. So I invite you to co-regulate this. And as I share with you, then I should have an internal experience of, the light is starting to shine. I'm starting to get it, okay? So basically, and sorry about my dumb stick figure, here are the two of us, and if we say the brain, generally speaking, and my apologies to neurobiologists, neuroscientists, from the simplicity of taking very complex things and simplifying it. If the brain has a left side and a right side, left side and the right side, then we can also say there are kind of three levels. The center part's emotional center, and the bottom part interacts with the body and the intellectual part. Okay, so we got the neural cortex, intellectual part, we got the emotional center, amygdala, limbic center, all that stuff in the brain. Okay, so, and here's a problem, and this is the water line because we use in psychology an iceberg metaphor, and we know that what sank the Titanic is not what they saw above the waterline, but what they saw below the waterline. We also know that the heart is the center of the relationship, and its energy is emotions, not words, though emotions are embedded in the words. Okay, so what's about the waterline that you're aware of? So I'm going to be talking about anxiety. I'm going to share about my anxiety. That means when I'm talking to you and you're talking to me, that's only 5% awareness. My system, when I'm talking to you, is processing at the 95% level, below the waterline, relationships. So the idea is I'm going to share with you about a particular anxiety experience I had, and you being present, attuning, resonating will start to help co-regulate this anxiety, whatever it is, right? And in interacting with you, I will begin to see my anxiety differently. The working assumption is if I sit there, try to do introspection, which is nice, it's incomplete. A deeper introspective work is done in co-regulation. It's interpersonal. Okay? Your very presence, my system is underneath the surface scanning you. Are you listening? Do I feel that you're there for me? Are you present? Are you tuning? You're resonating? Then that's going to raise my motivation, and all of a sudden my intellectual ability rises instantly.
The whole system shifts.
A whole system shift. Your relationships, regulatory relationships can enhance your IQ.
Wow.
You get smarter. That's why I walk away and says, wow, having talked to John,
right.
That makes sense.
Right. It comes together kind of in a new way.
New way. So,
Good.
concrete anxiety. I just had a medical test, and I had a number that they would give to me. It was 4.04 less than. And since I'm not medically trained, I go, what does this mean? My chart, which is online medical charting thing that my doctor got me under. Well, I got the number, but what does that mean? Is that good, bad?
Is it good numbers?
Is it good, bad numbers?
Right.
And what does the minus mean?
Right.
They're saying your test was 0.04. And I'm going, why the 0? Why not just 0.04? What is this about?
Right.
What does that say? And the 4, is that a good? Is that bad? Whatever. And what does it mean? They say 0.04 is less than that? What, did they round it off?
They round it up, right? Something like
Or they just don't want to tell me what it is? Is that, if they had then greater than, is that good or is that bad? Is it a plus or minus? Is this a plus or minus, right?
that. And you don't know.
I don't know. Which creates anxiety.
Right? And how do you experience that anxiety?
Well, that's a good question. Good way to answer that is, David, you tend to be a right brain dominant person or left brain? Everybody has both sides,
Right.
but there tends to be based upon what you've inherited biologically, DNA-wise from your parents, and the nurturing of early childhood will kind of create dominance.
Right.
Engineers and scientists stereotypically are in their heads.
Right. And when we say in their head, what we often mean is left brain dominant.
Nothing, because left side is linguistic, logical, factual, micro. The right side is relational, emotional, contextual, macro.
Right.
Okay, so you have both, but you can have a dominance. I tend to be right brain dominant slightly in my emotions, just slightly. So when I'm anxious, my brain tends to process it this way. I'm not right brain in my emotions. If I was right brain in my emotions, I'm talking to you about these numbers that's generating anxiety. What is it? Am I safe?
Right.
Note the question. What is it? Am I safe? Am I secure? Am I going to be okay? All the anxious questions. Anxiety is uncertain reality, uncertain goals. You're a backpacker at a fork in the road. Do I go south? Do I go north? If I go south, will I be okay? If I go north, is that a good shortcut? But will I hit snow? If I go south, do I end up in a swamp? Uncertain goal, right?
Right.
Am I safe? Am I not safe?
Right.
Anxious,
Right.
right?
And because of your genetic and environmental makeup,
Yeah.
you experience it mostly in your brain, right brain
Yes.
processing. You don't experience the profound depths of, like, say, despair or sadness. You may touch on that. And
Right,
you don't experience it so much in the body,
right.
but your brain, your thoughts.
Precisely. So that goes like this. Let's say you, by chance, knew I got this test because I told you, hey, I'm going to get a medical test report I'm anticipating.
Right.
So let's say you're curious, you're relational. So ask me the question, how was your test?
How was your test, David? You went this morning to get the results, and how did it go?
Good question. And notice how you did it. You so right brain.
Right.
You're right brain.
You felt the emotion that
But you are
something like that, right?
here. I'm barely in my emotions,
Right.
right?
Right. I'm more in
And
the
so
emotion.
my response would probably typically, yeah, interesting number, but I didn't give you any emotion.
Right.
If I was at, interesting number, because I'm not right brain dominant in my emotion or my body. If I was in my body, if it was like this, I'd go, oh yeah, I got the numbers.
You'd be in a fetal position and before rocking yourself, right?
I don't know what they mean.
Right.
Right?
Right. That's good.
Okay. That doesn't make me better or for worse.
It's just a reality.
That's reality.
It's just reality.
Okay. Now, here's an interesting thing. As we co-regulate, then offer me a presence and attunement.
Okay. So, hey, David, how was the test today?
Thanks for asking. Interesting numbers, and I'm trying to figure it out. I was kind of up all night trying to figure out what is this.
I'm so sorry you're up all night. And generally, I would do something like this. I'm so sorry you're up all night.
Yeah, because
what's going on?
Because your right brain toucher.
Right. And that touch would hopefully
Yeah.
ground you a little bit and bring you down.
That's your hope. I experience touch as intrusion.
Do you really like that one?
Get out of me. Get out of me.
Well, that's an important point, right?
Right.
Because for me to comfort me, I love it. Someone comes up
Yeah.
to me. You know, I don't want to be held indefinitely, but would love a touch. Would love that.
Yeah, because if it was reversed, if you were getting a number and I was trying to comfort you, I would never touch you.
Right.
More likely, I say, let's go get lunch.
Let's go have a beer.
Yeah, that's the closest to physicality you're going to get.
That's good.
All right.
That's perfect.
All right.
That's good.
Okay. Here's an interesting thing for right brain dominant person. As so we talk, my IQ increases.
Right.
Right side is relational, though in my head, which means as we engage, though I may not show you internally what's happening emotionally or physically,
Right.
my brain IQ is rising.
Right.
And I walk away saying, gee, I understand this better.
Right. You're experiencing it intellectually.
Experiencing this better.
I have the same
Does that make
experience.
sense?
It does. I have the same experience on two fronts. So one is relations, like you described, and the second is when I perform heavy exercises.
Yeah.
My system comes alive, and I
Yeah.
start thinking and questioning,
Okay.
and building theories, right? All of that.
Yeah. So I think you're like this.
Yeah, I think so too. Somewhere here in the body. If I push my body, it works its way up.
Now, it isn't that you don't have a left side.
Correct.
This tends to be a predominant orientation.
Right.
The key is, and this is where the PhD work was very, very helpful. This PhD is primarily left brain function. And so I had to learn to shift here and shift that.
Shift that.
And that created flexibility. And that's the key. And I have female clients. Sorry about my thumbstick figure. And they are extremely left brain, highly OCD, anxious, and ADHD, and they have a wonderful relational side, but lack of co-regulation has buried it. So it's very hard for them to be flexible. And they become rigid. And it's the rigidity. But when the relational thing is triggered, since it's buried, which means they don't process it, then they go to this side to figure it out. And the left side always splits the relationship.
Splits the relationship, and it doesn't resolve the pain.
Right? Nope.
This can only be resolved experientially, co-regulatory.
Right.
Is that fair?
Right.
So what you're describing to me as I'm talking to you is, this would be rigidity, right? If you stay here and try and solve things in your left hemisphere. And this would be someone who experiences chaos.
Yep.
Right? And it's about the flexibility, which happens in co-regulation, to say I can experience the pain, I can experience the anguish, I can think about it, I can process it, put it back and forth.
Yep. And so in couples therapy, one of the first things I do is I figure out if this is the male and this is the female, And by the way, if I'm working with same-sex couples, male or female, the neurobiology doesn't change.
Right.
They don't stop being human.
Right. Yeah, this is right.
And this makes, so I treat same-sex couples from neurobiology standpoint. I'm not looking at the gender.
Look at the neurology.
I'm looking at the relations, neurology at the relationship and how they interact, co-regulate, don't, and so forth. Okay?